turn to the big focus story. All 7 people, including a pilot, on board a helicopter carrying Kedarnath pilgrims were killed earlier today around noon after it crashed following a collision with a hill amid low visibility in Uttarakhand's Rudraprayag district. Now, according to primary reports, the chopper, owned by a Delhi-based aviation private limited company, was travelling back from Kedarnath when the crash happened near Garud Chatti just a few minutes after it took off. The statements coming from official authorities, the State Disaster Response Force, for instance, released a statement saying the incident took place between Lincholi and Garud Chatti, and the rescue teams from Kedarnath and Lincholi conducted the rescue and relief operations. The helicopter is from Aryan Private Limited Company. It was due to fog and less visibility that the crash happened. DGCA on its part has now ordered a detailed probe. In its official statement, the Aviation Regulatory Authority said that the chopper crashed on the way from Kedarnath to Gupt Kashi, possibly because of bad weather. So tragedy has struck the Kedarnath pilgrims, bringing an abrupt end to their spiritual journey. All 7 on board were killed. Adverse weather, arduous journey, and of course, a rather treacherous terrain. All of it contributed or were responsible to this accident. But then the question remains, is this a route fraught with dangers? Could the authorities have been more responsible about making this travel, this air travel, safer for the passengers? Were the authorities callous or negligent? Was caution thrown to the winds? That is the question we want to ask on the Big Focus today, because this is not the first chopper crash. In recent times, of course, what is completely fresh in our memory is what happened with CDS, with the Chief of Defence Staff, General Bipin Rawat, and the chopper crash that happened in the Nilgiris. The pictures are on your screen. This is one of the worst air tragedies in history. Former Chief of Defence Staff, General Bipin Rawat, along with his wife and 12 others, were killed after an Air Force Mi-17 V5 chopper crashed near Coonoor in Tamil Nadu. It was caused, as per reports, by pilot disorientation by a sudden turn in the weather. Prior to that, May 21st, 2021, the Moga air crash. There again, Indian Air Force pilot Abhinav Chaudhary was killed. His MiG-21 fighter jet crashed into an open field in Langina village in Moga district. We can have those pictures, please, of the Moga air crash that took place 21st May 2021. Yes, we're just playing out those file pictures to refresh our viewers' memory of those incidents that have taken place. August 21st, 2019, again about 3 years ago, 3 killed as helicopter carrying flood relief to Uttarkashi crashes. A helicopter carrying 3 people and relief material for flood victims crashed in Uttarkashi. The helicopter crashed again into a hill due to poor visibility. The reason we bring it up is because the circumstances sound extremely similar. In Kedarnath, in fact, an incident had happened on the 3rd of April 2018. I think we may have pictures of that as well, where a helicopter crashed. An Indian Air Force Mi-17 V5 chopper crashed while flying on a state government mission. The incident took place during the landing near the helipad. All 4 air crew and 2 ground crew members who were on board, however, in this case, managed to survive the mishap. So the questions, like I said, remain on the safety of the passengers, of the yatris who undertake this spiritual journey, hoping to reach their destination. It is, after all, a pilgrimage where these yatris were killed, and that is what makes it very tragic. And about the Char Dham Yatra, you have it on your screens on what the yatra is about. It covers 4 pilgrim sites. But if we put out the figures on the volume of people and the number of people, the turnout, and there you can see 2022 over 44,000 people have visited this Char Dham Yatra, all 4 yatras combined. 2021, of course, COVID year, 5,09,000 people. 2020, again a COVID year, 3,21,000. But look at 2019, again 32,41,000 people turned up for the yatra, for the Char Dham Yatra. So on an average, close to 40 lakh people on a non-COVID year takes this spiritual journey. The breakup is also in front of you. Kedarnath, around 14 lakh people. So what I'm trying to say is the context is important. There's a very large number of people involved here. Security cannot be taken for granted. What we need is a robust system to handle the passengers The treacherous territory that is involved, the inclement weather that is involved requires a very, very strong foolproof plan for the safety of the passengers. So was there a laxity? Let's have our panelists join us on the program. Dr. Naveen Kumar Bhatnagar, retired DIG NDRF, Air Commodore B.S. Sivach, aviation safety expert. Also, we have Captain Meenu Wadia, another aviation expert, joining us here in the program. But a very warm welcome to all of you. Thanks for joining us here. Let me first get in my colleague Mohit, who is tracking the story for us, for a quick update. Yes, Mohit, over to you. Anything further that we know as of now on why this kind of an accident took place? Were there laxity at any level?
Well, Afrida, it's a tragic incident that has come to light, and 7 people, including 1 pilot, have lost their life in this incident. Now, the flight took off around 11:40 a.m. from Kedarnath towards Garud Chatti and towards Guptkashi rather, and at Garud Chatti, which is 2 kilometers from Kedarnath, the flight crash landed. And what we are being told is that all the 7 people died at the spot. The relief and rescue operations also took a hit, given the fact that how it was continuously raining and snowing in that particular area. But Afrida, as you were also saying that about the reasons that led to this, the questions are being raised by everybody that why exactly, when there was foggy conditions over there, the weather was very difficult over there, when it was snowing, it was raining, why exactly the flight was given permission to take off? And that is the question that everybody is raising. Though DGCA and the Uttarakhand government have launched an investigation into this particular case, but 7 people have lost their life, and someone has to answer in that particular regard. Now, what we were being told is that prima facie, it seems that there was a visibility issue. The conditions were very foggy. It was raining from past 2 days. And remember, Afrida, DM of Rudraprayag, and Kedarnath comes under Rudraprayag, also tweeted 2 days ago that it's continuously snowing and continuous rainfall is being reported from Kedarnath area. So why exactly proper preparations were not being done? So the questions are being raised that why exactly the permission was being given despite heavy snowfall and heavy rainfall. Because if you see the visual that have come out, in fact, when the SDRF and NDRF reached the spot in the difficult terrain, still it was raining and snowfall was continuing.
Yes, which is why, Mohit, like you rightly pointed out, the authorities who take these decisions to give clearances have a huge responsibility. It can be a matter of life and death. Mohit, thanks for joining us. Let's go across to the experts joining us here on the program. Air Commodore B.S. Sivach, you know, what according to you is the problem here? Are the authorities careless and negligent? Was caution thrown to the winds? Because, you know, we all know there is money to be made. There are aviation companies involved. There's a particular season that the yatra is on. Everyone wants to capitalize on it. And the yatris, of course, they are on a spiritual journey. They want to somehow make it to their destination.
Thanks, Afrida. A very sad, unfortunate, and tragic accident. My heartfelt condolences on behalf of all the members of Aviation Safety India. Now, see, you raised a very pertinent issue about generating revenue and making money during these flying to pilgrimage sites. You're absolutely bang on. There is no denying the fact that all the operators are there to make money, and we can't sort of envy them or feel bad about it. It's a good thing they are making money. That's how they'll, you know, be able to remain viable and continue their operations. See, this accident was very unfortunate in the sense that the weather in the morning hours was clear, and thereafter the weather started packing up. Most of the other helicopters had already reached the helipads. This was the last helicopter, very unfortunate helicopter, which got into this adverse weather condition. And the problem with the hills is, particularly Kedarnath, that weather changes are very, very rapid, very unpredictable, and within 30 seconds, the scene can change. Entire visibility, cloud can just come in, foggy, it becomes foggy, and the valley over there is quite narrow. So in that valley, if you get caught in this kind of situation, and thereafter you get disorientated and finally meet up with a controlled flight into terrain accident. So that is, you can't, and there are no specific permission granted. Permission is, you see, before the operation commence at these pilgrimage sites, a DGCA team visits that place, checks everything is in order, and thereafter, after having given them brief turn warnings and tell them to be very careful, only then the operation is launched. So they definitely the very good supervision, monitoring, involvement of the DGCA and Civil Aviation Department of Uttarakhand as well. But sometimes
so I'm interrupting you here, Air Commodore Sivaj, because I want to play out what the Uttarakhand Civil Aviation Authority had to say. We spoke to C. Ravi Shankar. Let's listen in.
वो ऐसे बता रहे हैं कि जब टेक ऑफ होकर के वो लगभग गरुड़ चट्टी जो लगभग 3 से 4 किलोमीटर दूरी पर है, उसके आसपास जो है उनका कम्प्लीटली विजिबिलिटी नहीं हुआ होगा। तो उस संबंध में जो है क्या एक्चुअली घटना हुआ है, वो पूरा इंक्वायरी के बाद जो है हमें स्पष्ट पता चलेगा कि विजिबिलिटी खराब होने के बाद वो क्या कहीं पे टकराया गया है या क्या है। ये इन्फॉर्मेशन जो है बाद में इंक्वायरी के बाद पता चलेगा।
Okay, if I can bring in Captain Meenu Wadia as well. I think I found it interesting, what was just mentioned by Air Commodore Sivaj. The fact is that there cannot be a full guaranteed forecast. Weather changes very fast, so there are risks involved. Now, what can we do? We can have trained pilots. We can have a certain protocol which must be followed, Captain Meenu Wadia?
Yes, of course. I will initially disagree with all that was said earlier. You cannot blame the hills, nor can you blame the weather, nor can you blame the snow or the rain. It rains and snows all over the world, and there are hills all over the world. Does it mean that if it rains or if the clouds are there, you will have a crash? No, sir. There are systems made and placed into existence, and the systems are not enforced. That is the main reason. Also, what has to be highlighted regularly is any crash does not happen one fine day. There have to be a series of incidents. If the incidents where there's no disaster, there's no one dying, there's no damage, if the small incidents are investigated properly and the system put into place effectively, there should not be any such accident at all. Because what has happened over here, maybe the clouds are there, the hills are there, which is a common feature. We've been flying in the hills, and I have been focusing on aviation safety for more than 50 years. And
so are you saying that chances were taken, due diligence was not done, systems were not in place, or the entire checklist was not ticked off? Are you saying there were lapses on the part of the regulatory authority, the Uttarakhand Aviation Control? Who exactly are you saying should be held responsible?
I will definitely not make a comment, and no one should make a comment at this point. Let there be a proper investigation. Let there be more details found. And yes, prima facie, the similar thing had happened, and as you pointed out, the CDSs crashed when the footage was shown on TVs. And if you have flown in the hills time and again, for example, myself, if I've flown in the hills umpteen number of hours and umpteen number of years, it was very evident to me, even in that crash, what had happened, which eventually came out in the inquiry. Even here, I would not make a comment till you hear all the facts. But yes, very likely, the systems which have been put into place were not enforced and not followed scrupulously. That is, in fact, if you say who is to blame, in most of these things, I would directly point a finger at the DGCA only.
Because you see, there are 7 to 8 aviation companies operating in Uttarakhand, because such is the bulk of, the people who want to travel to this area in a specific period of time in a year. And so many private limited aviation companies operate. It is, of course, like you mentioned, the regulatory body, the DGCA's responsibility to ensure that all of them have a certain amount of trained pilots who are trained enough to operate in this kind of terrain. And what about air traffic control measures? How is the monitoring and the surveillance even done in such situations, Air Commodore B.S. Sivaj?
Afrida, at Kedarnath, almost, I think, thousands of hours are flown every year, carrying lakhs of pilgrims to the Kedarnath helipad. So you really can't blame any pilots' lack of competence, lack of training, or lack of involvement. As I told you, before the season commences, there is a very thorough briefing at site by the DGCA inspectors. And thereafter, also in Britain, also they monitor. Last year, if you remember, some of the operators were fined heavily, 5 lakhs, 10 lakh rupees for taking even, very minor shortcuts or a very minor violation. So you can't blame the DGCA, you can't blame the pilots. It is just that, you see, you have to be aware. Operating environment, you have to understand. And those operating environments are very, very challenging, very formidable, very demanding.
Yes. No, we are not questioning lack of competence at this stage, sir. What we are concerned about really, of course, there can be a human error. There can be a technical snag. The idea is to learn the valuable lessons so that this doesn't happen again. Unfortunately, similar instances under similar circumstances have happened over and over again. And from what I understand, and I have a very layman's understanding, which is why I want both the experts to tell us, how do you then determine what exactly caused the crash? From the previous cases, in the case of CDS Bipin Rawat, it turns out the pilot was disoriented because of a sudden turn of events. But there is actually no one to be blamed. We would have to say this was a human error, and accidents are accidents. But is there a way that we will know precisely why this happened? Let's have Captain Meenu Wadia talk to us about this, please.
Not at all. I wouldn't agree with you at all. You can't say no one is to blame. In fact, and you can't even say the pilots got suddenly disoriented because of sudden weather.
No, that's what the reports say, because I imagine there would be a black box, there would be certain equipment that is scrutinized, and then the reports are filed.
I am aware how the reports are made also, and I've been involved in this very actively for more than 50 years. So please understand, you cannot change the weather, you cannot change the hills, you cannot change the terrain. You have to change the mindset and follow the principles and the procedures laid down very strictly and enforce it. That is the main thing which is lacking. Even in the CDS's crash, just because the pilot was disoriented in the clouds, first of all, what business did he have to get into the clouds to start with? So, see, reports come out for various reasons. If you want to know the facts, if you follow the procedures, these sort of crashes can never happen and should never happen.
Okay, fair point. But, in this case specifically, what my colleague also pointed out was anyone would ask this, that why was the helicopter allowed to fly in such conditions? Anyone could see there is thick fog. Anyone could see that conditions are not favorable for a flight. Do you think chances are taken? Air Commodore Bivach, can I have Mr. Bivach please come in?
Yeah. Basically, what you are trying to say is, I don't tend to agree with that, because all there, as I told you, there is no specific approval given by there's no air traffic control, there's no one at the site who tells you go or no go. It is just sole at the discretion of the pilot. Now, in this particular case also, all other helicopters which are operating, they found that weather is deteriorating and they returned. This helicopter was also returning. But as I told you, weather changes there are very, very rapid, because from 11,000 feet, you are descending at a very fast rate to 5,000 feet within just a matter of 3-4 minutes. So you can well imagine, from low temperature, again you go to high temperature. So that time some fog clouds can just, block your way. Yes. And we really don't know what actually went wrong at that period of time. The pilot could have had the option of even returning back to the helipad. But that will only come to know after the investigation what exactly went. sitting over here, we can't make any
Because,
kind
you
of
know, there
judgment
is
or
fierce
comment there.
competition among the aviation companies operating there. The pilgrim sites have a huge footfall, like I said. So do these companies then, on certain cases, compromise on passenger safety? That is what is not acceptable. Thank you so much, Captain Meenu Wadia and Commodore Sivach, for joining us on the program.